Welcome everyone to another episode. And in today's video, I want to talk about forgiveness. It's one of the hardest things we experience. It's one of the hardest things that we have to go through as humans, as people, as partners, as lovers, as co-workers, as friends. And it's a lot of about hurt, betrayed, feeling like you were actually hurt so bad that it almost feels like an abandonment, and the thought of forgiving someone feels almost impossible. So in today's video, I want to walk you through some steps that I found are very helpful and can ease the pain and can kind of put you on the next step and the next step and the next step to kind of make the weight to feel less harsh and hard. So we're going to explore why forgiveness feels so hard, why is it essential for you and your spirituality and emotional well-being, and most importantly, I would say I'll give you practical steps how to forget, which is, I think, the most important part of all this, even though it feels impossible. So I would like to start addressing the biggest hurdle and understanding the weight of forgiveness and what actually forgiveness means overall. So as I mentioned, the first key step is to really forgiveness. And it's Jesus. I can't even talk at this point. I'm sorry. All right, let's rewind and take it from there. So I want to introduce you to the key points. And the first is acknowledging the pain. Forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring or invalidating the pain that you've been through. Your feelings are much real. Like, it feels like you were betrayed, you were stabbed, you were hurt, and that is valid. Because as you experience the feeling, we all experience betrayal at some point in our lives, and it feels almost impossible. It feels like you can't get through it, you can't forgive, and the feelings and what we are experiencing individually is very much the same, but of course the whole experience feels very much like it's on our own. We walk the path alone and nobody can understand. But I think we can all agree on, if we put it aside, that this we all have experienced in our lives and we can really actually see the traits of it. So sometimes it's about the resistment and how much and how long we hold on to it, because it feels like letting it go would mean that it didn't matter, it wasn't real, it's not real. But that's not true. Forgiveness is not about them, but it's more about you, because this situation about forgiveness, it's about freeing you and what you really need to go through to have less of the struggle each day and the next day and the following day. So think of forgiveness like carrying a heavy backpack full of stones, right? And if you hold on to it, if you really resist, you start feeling like there's more rocks add into the backpack, right? And you are not able to carry further and further and further. On the other hand, if you take each step, each resistance, each forgiveness, each small steps out of the backpack, suddenly you feel much lighter. You feel like you can do more. You can wake up every morning. You can make yourself a breakfast. You can go to work and not feel just the pain and struggle. So, of course, this overall doesn't mean that if you accept and acknowledge the pain, that it's becoming something not of an importance. It actually is becoming more important now, because I have to share something that I struggle with quite a lot, and that was when I had to move out, living with my friend who was, I cannot say, I don't know, a long time friend. And there was a situation that we come to the conclusion that it would be cool to live together, and we end up living together for, I would say, like 8-9 months. maybe a little bit less. Not important. And over time, there were situations that it really became hard, and by each fault, some of mine, some of his, we kind of, instead of moving together, you like brothers, you clashing, but suddenly the chain would start breaking, and you would lose the kind of perspective on things and how to handle things, because you struggle so much individually, and can't really like sit down and talk things out and look at it with perspective and actually accepting what you're doing wrong and try to make it better. I got screwed in many ways, and I had to move out, and there were a lot of nasty games and plays against me that I tried to resist, and my resentment just grew much, much, much stronger. And it got to the point that I was even like hurting myself. That the whole situation, I'm not trying to play a victim, but in a way I resisted to, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to own up to and move out and just focus on my life and fix things and do this differently. So I resented too long that it just got just so bad, right? And essentially then I ended up moving out. And when I look now, my life is much better in many ways, and I also had a time to reflect on this story, which leads me to point number 2, having a forgiving heart. So what I found is interesting in Matthew 18, chapter 18, 21 to 22. The story goes, Peter asked Jesus how many times we should forgive someone who sins against us. Jesus replies, not 7 times, but 77 times. And I want to admit and say that this is not about keeping the score and showing like, I forgave you more times than you have forgiven me. It's about having a forgiving heart, right? That's the next step, having a forgiving heart. And I know this might sound overwhelming, but we live in a world where grudges are celebrated and forgiveness can feel like a weakness, that you are able to actually let go and not hold on to your, like, I'm right, I'm truthful, this is that and that, because in many ways, psychologically, you're also playing a victim in that sense, because you're not owning up, because you also make mistakes, but also the other person. And in the end, it's really hurting you. So what I found in this story is that it's a reflection of God's mercy towards us. And if I go back to the story, after like a month and a half or 2 or something, I was sitting with God and reading through the Bible. I came across this as well, and I was having a conversation with God. And that's where I started seeing the patterns and the situations for, the struggles and the flaws and the mistakes that we've made together with the friend. And there was a lot of things that I was like, I actually did this right, and this is where it was coming from, and it could have been solved if we did this. But of course you cannot go back and unchange everything, but it's more about me letting go of the resentment of like what it could have been. And I know that we've always had a good relationship, and that we were always having fun and good like bond. But even if you feel like it's like one of your good friends, it can still happen. So at that point I was actually able to let go and not feel the shame, not feel the mentality victim ideology in my head that like, oh, I'm hurt, I'm this, like he hurt me, he betrayed me, and this kind of pattern. So I was actually able to let it go. And from that point on, I was actually able to really feel freer, much stronger, and much just free. Like having to learn from that experience, I would say was much more a very good benefit. So how do you actually do this, right? That's probably what you're asking for. So let's break forgiveness down into practical steps that you can take and start today. I want to name 3. Reflect, pray to let go, and release over time. Reflect. It's about sitting with God or sitting with yourself, whether it's a meditation, whether it's your journaling, whether you taking yourself for a walk or going for a walk or whatever that might be. Taking yourself for a walk probably is not the right English. Anyway, you go for a walk, you meditate, you journal, you do whatever works for you, but it's a moment of reflection, right? Like, why do I feel that I cannot forgive? Why do I feel that I need to hold on this resentment and really struggle with letting it go and actually freeing myself from the situation? Because like I said, with the backpack, if you add more weight on it, more rocks, it becomes harder. Pray to let go. And this is something that I think religion and finding my way to deeper Christianity and becoming Christian is really the hardest part, is to let go, right? Because in some words you say, I'm submitting the uncontrollable that you try to control, right? But sometimes letting it go, it opens new doors. It opens you as a human. It opens your heart if you just let go. Because resentment, you try to hold like you tight. You really hold on to something that you sometimes cannot even control. So reflect and try to let go. And number 3, release over time, right? This is not about just a quick race, getting it done in a day or a week. It's a marathon. So whatever you need to let go, whoever you need to forgive to, or whatever emotion that holds you towards someone who hurt you, who betrayed you, or who just did not take care of your emotional feelings as a friend, as a partner, as a parent, whoever that might be, and didn't watch out and took the responsibility that we're all humans, we all have a good heart, and hurt you. I want you to know that you can get there. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So as you take these steps, I want you to remember, as I mentioned, that forgiveness is a journey. It's not a short race. It's not a sprint, or not a one-time event. So be patient with yourself and trusting your journey. As I mentioned at the beginning, forgiveness feels impossible because it's one of the hardest things that we can experience and go through as humans, as individuals, as partners, as lovers, as friends, as a husband, as a wife. But I want you to know that you can accept the pain, lean on the biblical guidance. If you're not religious, you can still find ways how to relate on whether it's a idol that you might be looking or inspiring to, or a friend or a family member, whoever that might be, that person for you. You can also lean on that and take small intentional steps, and I guarantee you that each step by each day you will get to the point where you will be able to understand forgiveness and actually forgive in whatever situation you might find yourself in. And lastly, I want to challenge you today. Take the first step, whatever that might be. Meditate, reflect, write down, go for a walk. Think about what's really the resistment in yourself that's holding you to forgive the person or the situation, whoever or whatever. And try writing maybe a letter or in your journal or on a piece of paper or a napkin, whatever. You don't need to rush the process. I think that's like also very fundamental, that just take your time, because these things, if you take time, it's like understanding the process and you go through the whole phase. And I think that's where we actually learn from it and gain the wisdom that we all seeking. And if basically this message resonated with you and you find it helpful, please, I would like and encourage you to write in the comment, what is your struggle? What do you struggle to forgive? And I'm sure that hopefully in the community I'm trying to build, we all will share our stories and help each other and see what worked, what didn't work, and all exchange basically our experiences, and talking it through is always nice. Also, if you find this video helpful and you might find that someone needs to see it or listen to some of the things I've shared here, please also don't hesitate to share. It really helps. And if you like it, please give it a like. If not, I still love you. You're still a great human. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Ciao.